morning, Bachman Middle School. Today is Tuesday, October 26th. It is an A day. It is a band day 5, and I am Mr. Strand with today's Tiger Talk. A reminder that berry blend smoothies will be sold at lunch, as always on Tuesday. Today's flavor is Sunshine Passion. Sunshine Passion Berry Blends. Now it's time for our word of the week. This week's word is substitute. A substitute is a person or thing who takes the place of another person or thing. Substitutions are, of course, very common in the world of sports, where athletes often have to take a rest before the playing time is over. One professional sports league really shows its appreciation for its substitute players. Since 1983, the NBA has given out a Sixth Man of the Year award, an award for the best non-starting or substitute player in the league. Notably, the Los Angeles Clippers have dominated the Sixth Man award for the past decade. In the past 8 years, Jamal Crawford has won the award 2 times and Lou Williams has won it 3 times. 5 of the past 8 winners play for the Los Angeles Clippers. Maybe they should move some of those bench players to the starting lineup. Next up, it's time for What You're Reading. This is the segment where Bachman students and staff recommend books that they enjoy. Today's recommendation comes from 7th grader McKenna G.
Hi, I'm McKenna, and this is The End of the Wild, and it is one of the best books I've ever read. I give it a 5 out of 5, and this is Fern right here. She lives in a house next to the woods, and her family isn't that wealthy, so she has to get all of her food from the woods. She has a lot of good cooking books in here where it shows you recipes and it gives you a whole lot of wildlife knowledge.
Thank you so much, McKenna. And we do have 5 copies of End of the Wild in the Bachman Library, so check that out if it sounds interesting. Finally, today is also Math Tip Tuesday. So here is Ms. Wilson with today's math tip.
For this week's Math Tip Tuesday, I engaged our Bachman community in what's called a math talk, which is a strategy for creating positive mathematical experiences. I asked people, how many halves are in a quarter? Take a moment now to think about this question and how you would answer it. The most important thing is that you can provide evidence to justify your answer and support your thinking.
So in my mind, there are always only 2 halves in a quarter or in anything, because half means like 50% and 50%. So if it's how many halves are in a quarter, then it would just be 2, I think is the answer.
I could think of it as you take a quarter and take a half of it and have an eighth, and then do that again and have a 16th and keep going.
Are in a quarter.
2, because 12.5 plus 12.5 equals 25, so 2 halves are a quarter.
Quarter.
2.
Can you tell me how you know?
Well, if you take 25 and split it in half, that would be 12.5, and that's how.
Thank you.
There's 1 half of a half in a quarter,
How do you know?
because 1 half divided by 2 is 1/4.
So in math, there actually can often be more than one correct answer as long as it makes mathematical sense. Hopefully from the video you were able to hear and understand the reasons why all of those different people chose different responses to the same question, how many halves are in a quarter? So in the video we heard 2, there are 2 halves in a quarter. We heard that there's 1 half of 1 half in a quarter. I have also heard many other responses. Sometimes I have heard there are 0 halves in a quarter because a quarter is smaller than a half, and therefore there can be no halves in a quarter because it's already smaller than a half. I've also heard that there's an infinite number. So this is the symbol for infinity. And this is what Logan was kind of saying when he said, well, I could take 1/4 and cut it in half, make 1/8, cut it in half again, 1/16, and keep going. I hope you've enjoyed this week's math tip. Remember, all people are math people.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wilson. That's all for today, except to remind you to keep sending in those entries for our Tiger Talk logo contest. We'll be back with more information about that tomorrow. See you then.